Welcome back, everybody, to Corona Conversations. This is our Tuesday edition, March 31st, last day of March, headed off into April. My name is Jay Allred. I am the president of Source Media Properties, and we're here to take your lunch hour and spend about 60 minutes with you to look the elephant in the room square in the eyes. And that is, what if I get laid off? That's our topic today. These things are happening now, and there's a lot of people in our community and throughout the country that are really concerned with it. And so we want to make sure that we're here and providing resources and connections for you. Corona Conversations is brought to us by the generosity of our members, our newsroom partners, as well as a grant from the Facebook Journalism Project, which is supporting this work and reporting on COVID-19 around the country. So we're very grateful for them. And without further ado, I want to make sure that I introduce our guests and give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. I'm joined by three topic level experts from our community that are going to be able to be very helpful during this conversation, and we are so glad that you are here with us for it. So I want to start, Clint, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of roll off into our conversation after we've done some introductions.
All right. My name is Clint Knight. I am the Director of Workforce Development at the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. My position is literally connecting employers with resources to help develop their employees, employees with resources to help develop themselves. And I'm that link. That is the goal of my position, is to be the link between the two. Obviously, things are a little bit different right now, so I am trying to be as much of a resource as I can to everybody as these things, this information is developing and as the situation is transitioning. So,
great. Also joining us is Dana Yeager from Spherion, and Dana, can you talk to us a little bit about what you're up to and your job at Spherion and how you help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me today. And my name is Dana Yeager. I'm the Director of Safety and Risk Control for Spherion. I have been with Beth 18 years. Currently also as the President of the Richland County Safety Council. Our goal today is just to be a resource and to, partner with our community so that we all can manage through this interesting climate we're in. So thank you for having me.
And also joining us today, although she's having a little bit of trouble staying connected, is Teresa Alt from the Area 10 Workforce Development Board. So she's going to join us as soon as she has a better opportunity to connect, and she'll join us and we will get started. But we'll start with you, with Clint and Dana here. So we're going to start with kind of a table setter question, and it's this. It's Tuesday, March 31st. You're advising staffers and employees from any organization. What should folks do in the next 30 days, no matter if they think they might get laid off or not? People are asking, and how about, we'll start with you, Dana.
Certainly, I think that they need to, be considering what the plan might be, as things are continuing to unfold. Now, that's hard to do when you are literally going moment to moment, hour to hour. But it's just making sure that, you're communicating with your current employer and seeing what those opportunities are. I mean, in our community, even though that certain individuals may be affected with what they consider non-essential, there are a lot of essential businesses in our community that certainly are looking for those individuals that we could be utilizing to continue to service, for our basic needs. So there's still those opportunities out there. I would say that would be something that they want to, manage, keep a pulse on through either social media, just local community events like this today. Your Job and Family Services is a great resource as well to help plug in to keep things flowing.
Great. Um, Clint, what about you? What would, if you were offering some advice to folks, what advice would you be giving them right now?
I think it would be similar to what Dana was saying. Make sure that you stay as educated as you can on what those resources are, but make sure that your source of information is reliable. Make sure that you aren't reacting or listening to rumors or hearsay, and make sure you go to the right sources. As Dana mentioned, Job and Family Services website is always going to have the right information there, and make sure that you know that your source is reporting the right information, and stay educated on what is available to you.
And joining us from the Ohio District 10 Workforce Development Board is Teresa Alt. She's coming to us, looks like perhaps from her office at Job and Family Services. Welcome, Teresa. Tell us a little bit of, let's give you a chance to introduce yourself for a second, but then also to tell us a little bit about, if you were advising somebody right now, what should they be doing over the next 30 days, whether they think that whether they think they'll be laid off or not.
Okay. My name is Teresa Alt. I'm with the Area 10 Workforce Development Board, which consists of Richland and Crawford County. I'm staff to the board, and we work with the local OMJ centers, Ohio Means Job Centers in Crawford and Richland County. And also I'm housed here at Job and Family Services in Richland. For people who are facing layoff, or any uncertain time, I would say practice self-care. These are tough times, and we've been through tough times before. Try to keep things in perspective, take necessary steps to try to secure, your finances, your situation, look for help. And again, what Clint said, go to reliable resources. Ohio Department of Job and Family Services is the agency that processes unemployment claims, and they only do so by phone or online. They have a Facebook page, a Twitter account. They're posting information all the time, updating information all the time. Things are changing constantly. So I would look to those resources, follow them, and keep tabs of what's current. Don't always go by what your friend said or what you may have heard, because things get emotional and people can confuse details pretty quickly.
Yeah, and we see that quite a bit, and that's really what these coronavirus conversations are all about. It's to try to be practical and helpful and useful to folks during a really uncertain, and I mean, if we're talking about your job and your livelihood, a really scary time. It was just released. It was just released yesterday that in my industry alone, many of the large chain-owned newspaper companies are doing furloughs for almost all of their employees for a few days or a week during a month. Those are unpaid furloughs. That has to be really scary. And we're fortunate right now that we aren't considering that at the source, but it's just something that so many people are worried about. And having facts instead of sort of gossip on the interwebs is generally a better option. There are, and this is mainly for you, Dana, but I want all of you to weigh in on this. Some businesses are closed, just as I discussed, or dramatically impacted by COVID-19, but there are industries who are on the other end of that pendulum. Can you talk to us a little bit about who's hiring right now, like what sectors, and heck, if you want to be specific, that's great too. Who's out there hiring right now and needs workers to maintain essential services?
So of course, food industry is first and foremost. We do see a lot of our clients that we service that are in the food industry. Your warehousing, they are critical to getting certain things out to the community. Those are the types of businesses that we're seeing. We're also seeing a new influx because we're in a new climate. And one of the things we are seeing is where your essential businesses are looking to fill positions such as, sanitation type of positions, to help protect their, and their employer or labor force coming in. So we're seeing uniqueness in that way too. So, we do have a large array of positions that we are currently doing that are essential here in our community. When you think about it, there's a lot. And when I started looking, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize this business is connected to this one because of the essential of having them there for supporting individuals during this time. So,
Clint, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
There's a number of retail positions, grocery stores, for example, are hiring. And I can't stress enough that the medical is hiring right now. There are a lot of extended care or extended nursing homes. The SCNAs, LPN, RN. If you have one of those certifications and you're not working right now, you're needed because almost every facility that I've reached out to in the last week has said, yes, we are hiring if it's a medical facility. So that, and then there are companies right here in Richland County that are changing what they do, and they're starting to make PPE. I don't have a specific name of companies that might be hiring because of that, but because that transition is, is happening right now. I really just got a message right at this moment about another one who is transitioning what they do to make face shields. And those things are happening. So there are companies hiring every day. And we have on the chamber website, we have a list of companies that are specifically hiring. I know Richland Source has listings of companies that are hiring. Spherion on their website has it as well. So there are resources out there to tell you who is actively hiring right now, and it's happening.
Teresa, can you shed any light on sectors that you're seeing? You're deeply developed, you're deeply embedded in this. Can you see any shed some light on sectors that might be hiring right now or are ramping up as a responder to coronavirus?
Mm-hmm. So in the Crawford, Ohio Means Job Center, they have postings for GE Bucyrus, and they can apply on acclache.com's website. Also Walmart, Dairy Crest, and Bucyrus. In Mansfield, our local child support enforcement agency is looking to fill a position, AK Steel and Kroger. If you go onto the OhioMeansJobs.com website, when you log in, you'll see a COVID-19 icon that you can click on for local job postings that are related to the pandemic of companies that are in need right now.
Oh, okay.
So that's a new tab that they just added, and I think they're going to continue to work on that to help those who are unemployed find employment quickly.
Let's talk a little bit, and this is, talk about a fluid situation. Let's talk a little bit about the recent aid packages that were passed by the federal government. Much of those aid packages are intended for employers to help keep payroll active, to keep people on the job, to provide some bridge between where we are now and where we might end up in 2, 3, 4 months. And of course, their stimulus checks are going out to Americans starting, I think, right now, but certainly in the next few weeks, we should be seeing those. But how will those packages, or how do you see, crystal ball firmly in hand, how do you see those packages impacting employees here, particularly the ones that are being passed by the federal government for employers? What are you seeing from the contacts that you have with employers about how those packages are being used and how people are preparing to use them to help keep payroll steady? Clint, you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start with that. I think, talking with employers regularly, I think that, a lot of their questions about those that support and that money is how can it be used? You know, there's certain restrictions that are set around those dollars that, you know, you have to use them to keep your business open, by paying, retaining employees is the main point there. And I think that a lot of employers, that's what they want to do. Obviously, you know, they're in business to keep production going, to keep business open. And they're trying to learn as quickly as they can, how can we use this money and how do we access this? So, you know, from an employer standpoint, you know, they want to keep people working and they want to be able to keep their employers. So I think that's the money that is available to employers. That's going to be the biggest benefit is, you know, if they can maintain as many people in their buildings as they can, you know, that's what they're going to be able to do. You know, that's what they're going to use it for.
Teresa or Dana, can you talk to what you're hearing in terms of, you know, the SBA loans and the paycheck protection and all the stuff that's coming through? How's our employer community looking at that now, and what signals are you seeing in terms of sort of taking that on and participating in those programs?
I'll defer to Jen on this one, as that is not something that I would be able to touch intelligently on without messing this up. So I'm going to defer that to her if that's okay.
Yeah, and I haven't talked to any local employers. I'm just trying to gather the information as quickly as possible. And we get so much information, and it's, you know, kind of what's presented and then what gets passed, and trying to keep up on all of it. It's, you know, like Clint said, make sure you have a reliable source, and I'm sure the chamber will have all those resources. I know Barrett has some Zoom calls coming up to help people with this stuff, but, you know, it's difficult because it comes out in the media much faster than the rules can get written and the procedures and the government can keep up with. So that becomes the hard part. Because, you know, there is, you know, help for unemployed through the federal act, but it's going to take the State Department a couple weeks at least to get it in process. So that becomes a challenge for people, knowing that there's something out there, but will it get to them in time to help them with their immediate needs?
Yeah, I was on a call with our company's accountant yesterday or day before yesterday, and we were talking about some of these things. And she remarked to me that she's never read so much legislation in her entire career as an accountant, and has taken to issuing, you know, daily or, you know, multiple weekly updates to clients as things become clearer. You know, one of the things that I found that was interesting was that much of the aid packages, the paycheck protection loans that are available through the SBA, are actually going to be managed and written. Those loans are going to be written through local banks. And so, you know, the local banks are also trying to figure out what exactly they're doing as a result of this. You know, just this idea of, well, okay, well, wait a minute, is there an application form? What is the application form? What information do we need? And so, you know, I think that speaking as an employer to the folks that might be concerned about this is try to offer your employer at least a little bit of grace here. He or she is likely losing a lot of sleep over a lot of the same things you are. And I know that many of my colleagues in business are absolutely trying to take advantage of these opportunities because they don't want to lay their people off either. They've got, you know, they don't want, you know, they've got their folks' best interest at heart. But speaking from a first person standpoint, it's not plug and play. I mean, I think that it'll mobilize quickly and they'll make it as easy as they can, but it's not plug and play.
And fortunate for us here at Spherion is that, you know, the affected ones that, you know, are and non-essential is we are migrating them to the essential businesses. So, you know, we do have those fortunates. And I think the other thing I love about our organization is that, staying on the pulse of everything and trying to get that out to our employees. I know we're sending messages out. We're putting things on our website to keep people in the know. I don't know, Jennifer, if you've seen the newest thing that came out, and we were just looking at it today, is where Richland County has a certain support for individuals meeting a criteria, of course, but to help with offsetting some of the bills that may need to be paid, utility, rent, whatever it be. I don't know if you could touch to that, but I thought that was really neat, because when I sent it on to my third-party administrator, who is in a different county, they didn't see that happening in their county. It's Richland County. So it's kind of neat to see what we're doing here, and that they're taking these steps and supporting it to ensure, we all make it through this together. So I thought that was really neat. So I don't know if you want to touch to it or not, but.
Sure. So correct, Richland County Job and Family Services is issuing a special PRC program, which stands for Prevention, Retention, and Contingency, for COVID-19, and it's on their website. It's a pretty simple one-page application. It's for those who are unemployed with children or pregnant women. It can be, and they discourage walk-in appointments. The building is open, but we're trying to maintain our social distancing, and so you can download the application on the website. It's pretty simple to find. It's on the big COVID-19, and complete the application. I believe you have to have your copy of your social security cards and a copy saying that you're unemployed, and you can receive up to $1,500 for either rent or mortgage assistance or utility assistance. And it's for a family up to 200% of poverty.
Teresa, can you give us the website again where folks might go? What's the URL again?
Okay, one second. It's rcjfs.net/COVID-19. And if you just Google Richland County Job and Family Services, it's COVID-19 information, and then you'll be able to pop up the application. Okay. But again, they have a Dropbox. You can email it to them. There's no reason to have to come in, and it's discouraged. But
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I believe there may have been a press release yesterday.
Oh, thanks, Brittany. Brittany Schock, my colleague, who's joining us today as our producer, had dropped that link in the chat for our folks so that they can find that. She's sort of she's our invisible helper here. She's producing us, and as she knows that she's got us. Well, that's great. So let's kind of, before we turn this over to audience questions and attendee questions, I think the thing that folks are most concerned with are, if I get laid off today, what are steps 1, 2, and 3? What should I do first? And how should I handle that? Because it may have been we may be affecting folks that have never been laid off before in their lives, and it's a new. Things may have changed. So what should they do first? Teresa, can you hear us okay? We've kind of lost you. Oh, great. Sorry. We've lost your video, but we've got your audio, which is okay. The software is just adjusting for your internet speeds. So, but we can hear you fine.
Well, I would tell individuals that they want to apply. The call center's open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on weekdays, or 9 to 1 on Saturdays, but they really can apply online, and it would be faster. But again, they might want to try that on non-peak hours.
What are peak hours?
Just to give you, so non-business hours. So if they could get up early in the morning, or if they're a night owl, and they can apply online at any time, but the call center's only accepting calls 7 to 7. But just to put it in perspective, they received 1.7 million phone calls in March. In February, they received 112,000 calls. So they have added servers to the system, and they've added 130 workers. So they're doing their best to try to keep up with the claims. If they need a PIN reset, there's a special number for the PIN reset, and that's 1-866 1-866-962-4064.
Could you repeat that one more time for us?
1-866-962-4064. That is
Thanks.
for a PIN reset.
Appreciate it.
They have to have their PIN before they can, finish their application. If they're part of the mass layoff, there is a mass layoff number, and that mass layoff number is 2000180.
What can you? Oh, well, it looks like we got it.
Thank you, Brittany.
Can you tell us what is a mass layoff? What's that mean?
So typically an employer, if a large employer is doing a shutdown or a layoff, they give the employee a letter with the number on it, and it just helps the claim move along more quickly.
Okay.
Because of the nature of some of these layoffs, with them being fast food, the food industry, restaurants, they just created this number to help move claims along. Individuals don't have to use it if they've already applied. They don't need to worry about going back and putting it in. But it's just to indicate to the system that it's because of the COVID-19 and the stay-at-home orders and the shutdowns.
Can we?
Some other things is
Go
there's
ahead.
no waiting week. So folks who are concerned about that, that has been waived. And people are also worried about if they can't get in or if they get locked out. No worries, because it will go back to the date that they're eligible.
Okay.
And to tell you when you might receive your first payment, it's really difficult. They're trying to process these claims as quickly as possible, but they will receive a determination. And based on that determination, they, if they're doing direct deposit, it's a little faster to receive payment. If they're doing the card, the Visa card, it will take a little longer. So just some things, if people want to try to speed up their claims, that they can, do direct deposit, use the online system, try to use it not between 8 and 4 or 8 and 5, and make sure they have, their information. If they have dependents, they're going to need Social Security numbers, those sorts of things.
What's this is just a question because I just heard this word used for the first time in a very long time, and I didn't have a chance to really practically understand the difference. But what's the difference between a furlough and a layoff, and how does that change? Does that change any way that that an employee would interact with unemployment? So, for example, if I work for a company and the company announces that all employees are going to take a furlough, an unpaid furlough, 1 week out of every month, meaning that essentially they're going to take a pay cut, a 25% pay cut, because they're literally not going to come to work 1 week out of each month over the course of 3 months. Is that something that would make me eligible for unemployment, or is there something different about a furlough and a layoff?
I believe they could still apply for that 1 week. They just wouldn't then have subsequent claims the following weeks. And the other important thing, if they know they're going to have that 1 week a month, they really need to make sure they keep track of their PIN so that when they go back the next month, they have it handy and they don't have to go through the PIN reset and wait on line on hold.
How long do you need to be out of, like, how many consecutive days does an employee need to be laid off or furloughed to be eligible to apply for unemployment? Is there a minimum?
It's a weekly system. It's a weekly claim. So I would assume. Yes. Okay.
Well, we're gonna open up the session for questions. If anyone has any, and then obviously we'll post this video online after we're completed here, so we can share this information with as many folks as possible. So if you've got any questions, please drop your questions in the chat, and Brittany will help us get them answered. I really want to thank Clint and Dana and Teresa for spending some time with us today. I mean, this really is an elephant in the room kind of a topic, and I think that what we're seeing trend wise, and I would ask sort of a follow-up questions for you guys. the trends that you're seeing with employers, layoffs tend to be a trailing indicator of an economic problem, and we're moving deeply into, we're moving pretty fast into what is going to be a nationwide economic slowdown. We're there now, and so these layoffs are kind of a trailing indicator. Do you anticipate that this is going to continue or increase as we move through the next few weeks, that layoffs are going to be more common and we're going to see employers start to do that more often? I mean, to see a 15%, like a 15x increase in the number of calls in March to the unemployment hotline, that's a lot. And so it's hard to imagine that it actually increases or that the rate increases. But what would you guys say that you're what's your sense? What's your spider sense right now tell you?
I would certainly say that, you are going to have businesses that may hold back, or they may be not looking for that hiring. But then on the flip side of it, you're going to have businesses begging for people, because as we progress along, you're going to have more people quarantined or, affected or touched in some fashion or form. And, as a community, we need to be ready to support those. And I think that's why this is a great opportunity for all of us to collaborate together to connect people in, to those opportunities, so that we can keep the business, the economy going, as well as helping our, workforce gain those financial needs that they're going to need during this time. So I think you're going to see both. I think you're going to see one slow, but another take off. So
I completely agree with that. We've heard the governor talk about, and the lieutenant governor talk about maintaining this, the stream of the supply stream, the logistics. And we have a lot of employers in town that are in the midst of that, whatever their product or whatever their focus is. And we've seen, like I mentioned earlier, we're seeing some right now change their product and getting more into moving into making PPE. So I think there's going to be an ebb and flow here, where opportunity decreases. I think we're going to see it increase locally. So to answer your question, yes and no. I think there will be some other layoffs, not just here, but nationwide. But there's opportunity that's changing and will show up. So
let's hope it shows up soon. Because right now as we pay attention to what is happening, it doesn't seem like we're seeing, it's obviously decimated right now, the restaurant and the restaurant industry and the bar industry in Mansfield and Richland County. It's those workers that are probably, many of whom are calling your hotline, Teresa, and logging on after business hours during times to register for employment. This is a reality for them right now, and many of them, maybe it's the first time that this is the reality for them. So it's very, very real, and that's why one of the reasons we asked about people who are hiring, because I know that prior to COVID-19, one of the most common complaints that I would hear in the business community is, I have tons of jobs to fill and I can't find a worker. We don't have enough folks. And so what we're hopeful for, I think, one of the things that we should probably be hopeful for is that those jobs that couldn't be filled before are still there, and that those employers are still hiring, because they are, Clint, in the supply chain. Got a question here from Byron Rock, which is, if we don't know the answer, let's refer him to someone who might be able to answer his question. But he says, what healthcare coverages are available? COBRA is way too expensive. As someone who switched jobs a few years ago, I sure know that COBRA is really expensive. So what are there healthcare gap programs that can help people get through this when they're on unemployment or when they're on assistance, when they're temporarily between jobs? What are their resources for healthcare?
Well, he could apply for Medicaid. It is income-based, so it depends on the household and the income. But again, it's an online application, and it's benefits.ohio.gov.
So that's benefits.ohio.gov.
Yes. Again, it's going to be income based, so it's,
Right.
it's limited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is that, with businesses such as ourselves, once we do get you employed in a client site, we do have some of that supplemental insurance that we offer as well. It may not be the type of insurance that you had before, but it is some coverage that will help you during this time till you're back on your feet. So, for those job seekers, they can always go to our Mid-Ohio, it's www.midohio.jobs.net. So midohiojobs.net, and they can look on our website to see what openings we are currently filling for, and certainly apply with us as well. So then they would have some coverage at that point. So
Dana, Spherion would be sort of a bellwether here in terms of available job openings and those kinds of things. Are you still actively placing people in jobs today? I mean, is the demand still there?
Yes,
okay.
We are. And that's why, I mentioned earlier, transferring the individuals that have been laid off, as well as, the applicants coming in. So we've done our part as far as, doing the social distancing, and we've adapted to it, as you had mentioned in your environment. But, we're taken only by appointment. We're doing the 6 foot distancing, as well as, utilizing some of our technology like virtual recruiting. So yeah, we're still ramping along. So, it's a great opportunity for people to get plugged in, and not just from employee perspective, but if you're a business on here and you have not explored the opportunities to partner with a organization such as ours, we certainly are here for solutions and to assist during this time. It's about making those connections and utilizing our expertise and what we've done every day for the past, Beth has been in business well over 25 plus years, so our company that we are currently in was founded back in 1946. So, we certainly have a lot of years of experience of doing that. So if it's a business that's looking for that support, need, and guidance, even with just a business continuity perspective, or, hiring solutions, things of that, we are here to help navigate through that process.
That's great. I mean, those are valuable resources, and it's interesting that, in the midst of the narrative, which is that, a lot of, and people, it's not a narrative. A lot of people are hurting. But it is the underlying that there are, that the economy in some senses is still moving along, that there are, at least in our local region, we're a little different. I mean, we're unique, just like every other region in the country. We have our own sort of small economic ecosystem. And to hear that you guys are still placing folks, I hope that gives, hope that provides some resources to some of our viewers and can help them know that there are ways that they can try to get reconnected to employment. Brittany Schock, my colleague, asked a pretty good question, which is not surprising since she asks questions for a living, and she's asked you to pull out your crystal balls again and think about what you think the economic landscape in Richland County will look like a year from now, and how, and if it is different, how will it be different, and if we need to recover, how will we recover? Clint, I'm going to throw that one to you. I'm going to throw that softball to you. It'll be different. It's going to be different, won't it, Clint?
Yeah, it's going to be different, and it's
and that's okay.
It's something
going to be different.
That's something. Yeah, it's something that our economic development team has talked a little bit about. We've spent most of our time trying to keep up with all the legislative changes and resources, but how do we prepare for this on the other side? Because of layoffs, changes, hopefully, most of our employers are going to be able to bring back, their employees that they've had, because of the resources that are being given to them by the federal government and the state. That's the goal. I I optimistically hoping that we come roaring back from this thing, and it all depends on how long this goes on. But a year from now, I think some businesses are going to change. Some things are going to look a little bit differently. I think some businesses are going to learn how to run a little more efficiently through this process because they're going to have to. So I think we're going to learn a lot for the positive. And I think, when we come back, some employees are going to learn some new skills, and some employees are going to go back to different jobs. Having said that, I do want to mention that I didn't mean to be insensitive to the service industry earlier when I was saying that. I think I know this is devastating for servers and people who have been, saute cooks or you know what I mean, for years. And now what do I do? I get it. And hopefully that some of those people are going to have to develop new skills and find different jobs. It's going to happen. And that's part of what my job is to make sure that we create those avenues and we create those opportunities for people to learn new skills and get into those new positions. So to answer your question, I think we're going to look a little bit different. I think we're going to be a little more efficient, but I think a year from now, we're going to be back.
One of the things I would encourage folks to do, and again, I'm coming at this from the position of an employer, but if you have the opportunity, particularly in small business, the impact of the SBA loans that are coming through and the ability that should those loans, what the signals that we're getting is that if those loans are used to maintain payroll, that the majority, if not all of those loans can be forgiven. At the end of the term. They're short terms. They don't last forever, but they could be crucial to bringing, to moving service industries through the gap until that they can get open again and getting cash flow. And I would encourage you, if you're in a small business, just like our employees here at the Source are in, talk to your employer about it. Have a conversation about, open up a dialogue about, is the employer going to try to take advantage of these? What strategies will they have? Knowing that they're losing sleep in many ways, just like you are, and they're thinking about their employees' well-being all the time. And, that runs counter to the narrative a lot in the national media about how employers don't care about their employees and they're not thinking about their employees. And everyone that I know right now that is running a business is losing an enormous amount of sleep about how they're going to be able to maintain their employees and to be able to, provide a living and a job and keep things going. So this is the time, I think, for cooperation and to help each other understand what the impact of that can be. But if you're thinking about 2.5 months worth of payroll, that could have an enormous bridge impact on the ability for a business to continue to stay viable. So, now's the time to come together.
I'd like to tag on to what Clint said about how that might look, and I'm a positive creature as well, and so I honestly think that there was so many great things. It's a tragedy we're in, but there's greatness that's coming from it, from a business perspective, as far as learning in such a unique situation. How do you adapt? What are your next steps? Your business continuity plans and things of that nature, but. You touched to something, Clint, that I think is really important, is that, as you mentioned, there will be individuals that will need to seek those newer trade skills or education. And one of the really neat things about Spherion is that they do have the Excellence in Leadership Scholarship, which is up to $2,500 for individuals that are aspiring to further their education, either in college, technical, or skilled training. So, there's those opportunities as well. If it, for individuals that are out there now, if they want to go on to our Spherion Facebook, there's more information about that to assist them. So, I just think there's just great opportunities when we come as we look to the future. It's only one way, and that's up. at this point. So I'm just going to keep positive and, as they say, calm, and, just take each bit of things in and, kind of dissect it and just put it in place the best as we can for our business and our communities. So.
Yeah, Beth, who's on the call with us, mentions that she's very optimistic with the lessons learned. 2008 was something that taught her really well, and she feels like we're going to all rebound and be better, and encourages us to try to remember that Mansfield will continue to rise, and we're going to continue to improve. And I think that that's just one of those things that you just go, oh my gosh, thank you, COVID-19, for screwing up all this momentum that had been built, just carefully cultivated over the course of the last 36 months, and people feeling psyched up and excited, and thank you, coronavirus, for kind of raining all over that parade. But it does feel like, having been, watched, remembering 2008 and remembering how bad that was, and it was terrible. And Mansfield is still recovering from 2008 in many ways, and certainly the Midwest is largely, but we are recovering, and we are dealing with something that hopefully things will move through quickly. There are signs of optimism for, just look at what I saw the president of Battelle on today and on TV today, and talking about the technology they're deploying to help with sterilized PPE, and it made me think a little bit about how innovative Americans can be and how resilient we can be in times of crisis. And
it does make your heart happy. It really does. I mean, when I read the Facebook post that, the local galleon, I believe, vault that made Jen has switched gears and literally are making hand sanitizer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is humanity stepping up. That's us coming together and just being there for each other. I think it's amazing. I seen another one. My husband pointed it out because he likes to watch moonshiners, but they're doing that.
That's a whole other personal issue.
It's like that just makes, that's the positivity. That's the optimism. That is us being resilient as Americans. And I think that's the takeaway for today. We might be in a critical part in history, but I think Jessica just put it on there, a comment, back and better, than before, together, that we rock, Richland rocks. And I truly believe that, not just from Richland, but across the nation. And this time next year, we'll be like, man, this is history. It's history.
Certainly something I can hope for. Clint, go ahead.
And to make it happen faster, we have to be responsible. We have to follow the guidelines that our governor and Dr. Atkins is putting out for us. If we want to get there quicker, we gotta listen. We're gonna pay attention. So, and I think it seems we're doing a pretty good job of that so far.
So we're closing in on the end of our time together, and I wanted to make sure that Teresa has one more chance to kind of tell us, if you can give us the website for unemployment benefits for folks that are laid off. Teresa, just kind of repeat that to us one more time so that we can make sure that we're good. I think it's benefits.ohio.gov. Does that sound right?
That would be if you're applying for cash, medical, or food assistance.
Okay.
The unemployment is unemployment.ohio.gov.
Okay.
And that website is updated continually. Again, they have a Facebook page where they put a very nice kind of display of how to make your weekly claim after you've done the first claim. Then each week you have to update it. And there's some tricky questions for people who have not used unemployment before. And because it's not really a form that's designed for a situation like this. So I believe Brittany posted it earlier. It's a really good infographic on how to fill that out. I do have one other plug. Tomorrow is April 1st, and it's Census Day. And if we want to continue to rebuild and help the community, we need to make sure that everybody's counted, because that affects how much we get for school aid, for federal aid, for local state government aid. So you can do that online also. Go online and do your census. It doesn't take very long. If you don't do it, then people may be coming to your house, maybe not. But
That would be
while you're
awkward right
home,
about now.
yeah, while you're home, you might as well get on and do census. That, the 2020 census, it's due, tomorrow's the day. So that helps us with our funding locally. So if you have the time and you'd like to do something positive, fill out your census form tomorrow.
That's fantastic. Thanks. I want to thank our guests, Clint Knight from the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development, Dana Yeager from Spherion Mid-Ohio, and Teresa Alt from the Ohio District 10 Workforce Development Board. Did I get that right, Teresa?
Workforce Development Board. Yep.
Yes, okay,
Very
fantastic. I also want to thank our newsroom partners and our members and the Facebook Journalism Project, who are all powering this kind of reporting. We are doing this. We're doing this in response to obviously a situation that our country and our region is going through. But we're doing this because independent local journalism does these things when it's operating well. It's focused on its community, it's focused on the people that it's serving, and it's trying to communicate and connect them with resources that help them live their lives in a more informed and better way. And I really want to thank everyone that's joined us throughout this series. We have a fantastic, we've got a great one tomorrow. We will be joined by Brady Groves, the CEO of the Richland County Foundation, and Jim Cutright, the CEO of the Ashland County Community Foundation, to talk about how foundations in the region are mobilizing to help our nonprofits. Our nonprofits in this community serve so many people, and Jim and Brady are going to talk to us a little bit about how they're mobilizing to provide enhanced grant making and sped up grant making to help nonprofits cover operational costs. And then on Thursday, you don't want to miss, we are going to have a conversation with the brass at Mansfield City Schools and at Lexington Schools. Stan Jefferson and Mike Ziegelhofer are going to be joining me to talk about what's next for school in our region and what's going on in there and how distance learning is going for them. And then on Friday, we're going to be joined by representatives from Ohio Health and University Hospitals to get an update from them. They're our first responders. They're on the ground. They're preparing for what looks like it's going to be a peak coming up here in the coming weeks. And they've generously provided some time for us to help update our community on what's happening on there. So we've got a strong schedule for the rest of the week, and we hope that you'll join us. So thanks again for joining us at Coronavirus Conversations. Sounds like I've been having a Corona conversation, which I might be having later on today. But thanks for joining us for Coronavirus Conversations. We'll see you at noon tomorrow. And thank you, Brittany, for helping us produce this and keep us between the ditches. Have a great day, you guys. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.